guys, what's up? It's Rich, and I'm back, possibly from the future, or not, or Flushing, Queens, like the nanny. Anyway, this is BTC 2.0, episode number 21, and we talked to Chris Condon. Chris was nice enough to come back after being the first guest on my show. He was like, hey, this guy ain't too bad to talk to, and he's back again. We're talking about that Texas Blood out from Image Comics. The new story arc began with issue number 7. Issue number 8 is out this week from Image. Go pick it up and check out this interview. Guys, welcome to the show once again, Chris Condon. Chris, thank you, man. What's up?
Not much. Thank you for having me, Rich. I appreciate you asking me to come back. I'm happy to be back.
Dude, that was my first episode of this new iteration of the show. This is episode 21. So I think that's like a little bit of a milestone. The last time we talked to each other was like 5 months ago.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing for the last 5 months?
Just, living, trying to get through the ongoing pandemic. And, I've been writing a lot. I think I may have mentioned this at some point to you, but last year I wrote a novel, and I'm sort of now sort of like wrestling with, okay, am I actually going to do this? And I have a manager now, so I talked to my manager about it, and he liked it, which gave me a little bit more faith in the project. So I've been working on that mostly, and also Texas Blood. Working on the script for a Christmas story we're planning on doing. I originally had a different idea, and I wrote it a long time ago, because actually I had it planned for 2020. So it was going to be issue 7. That was going to be issue 7. It was going to be this Christmas story. And then I reread it, and I didn't like it as much after a year. And so I think I'm going to approach it a different way. But I think the new approach is basically more, since we're doing 7 through 12, and it's essentially like a Joe Bob story, I thought it'd be fun to have it be issue 13, which is also funny. Issue 13 is going to be a Christmas issue. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to almost have it be a sort of kind of epilogue. Like, it doesn't really deal with that, but it's set in the past again, and it's a Christmas story.
But that
kind of closes out the story.
I love that, because that lends itself to so much fun going towards the future, because it seems like you can take this book, like you and Jacob could take this book like anywhere. You can do future, you can do past, you can do like the way past. I think we kind of got a hint of that in the newspaper clipping in issue 7, which was one of the supplementals. I got to compliment you guys. I was telling my wife before, it's very hard, I think, after reading issue 7 several times, to not do like a Chris Farley show type thing talking to you, or I'm like, oh, and then this part, dude, and then that part. But solid, man. Like, I think, from my perspective, like, you and Jacob like certainly stepped it up with the second part of this,
Yeah. Well, this is feeding into a larger thing that I want to do with the series. But, like you said, I mean, I feel like people were a little hesitant with our series through 1 through 6, because issue 1's like a one shot. And from issue 1, I remember people going like, where are they going to go from here? And, and then we introduced the second story, well, the first real story arc in issue 2. And people were, were like, oh, is this where this is going? And then obviously with issue 7, we're introducing a whole new thing. So, I mean, and that's something exciting for me that I want to do, is that I don't want it to always be the same thing over and over again. Just sort it tells Joe Bob's story, like story of the county, but it also is just, I want to tell contained stories. I've always been a big fan of the Mignola Hellboy universe. Yeah. And so that's always been a big influence on me, and just, kind of how he does, like, he could do a 3-parter, a 5-parter, a one shot. It doesn't matter. It all adds up to the life he's creating for Hellboy and the universe. And so I sort of take hints from that. And also, I guess, I've always mentioned Stephen King as an influence. Stephen King's definitely a big influence with the Dark Tower universe. Yeah, so I mean, that's and the exciting thing for me. I mean, Jacob and I have talked about what you're talking about, the distant past, and I don't think that would make it into like a Texas Blood straight off book, but it would be like a spin-off or something, I'm sure. And so we've like talked about it, and I think what we want to do is we want to do 3 full volumes before we even entertain that idea.
That's awesome.
Just to make sure people actually like us.
So how far out, like how far out have you planned what's coming next? Because like you seem like a guy who's very on top of it, like you're not like wrestling for it. To me, it doesn't seem like you're wrestling against a deadline. It seems like you have like X, Y, and Z that you're looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I'm working on at deadline now is the Christmas issue, and that's only because I decided to rewrite it. Okay. But I have the idea in my mind, so all I got to do is write it. But I mean, I have the whole of the title That Texas Blood laid out before me. Like I know where everything's going, and I know why we're introducing certain things in this story arc, because it's going to tie in later to things that are going to happen. And I pretty much have everything mapped out till we say issue 30, but it could be 31, 32. I don't know when. I mean, I would like it to be a nice round number like 30, but we'll see. I mean, this story arc was only supposed to be 5 issues, and it turned out to be 6. I was cramming too much into the final issue, and I said, I'm just going to do an extra issue.
Oh, that's always better.
When I was scripting. So sometimes you find that you need to push things, because I was sort of like I was like I could cram everything into this issue, but then it's like moving way too fast, and I'm like, but I feel like the reason why people like our book is the pace, and that's the thing and it's that Texas pace, and I'm like, I'm just gonna let it breathe, and if it's too slow for some people, it's too slow for some people, but I felt like it fit the world that we have and the comic that we're creating, so that's why I did. That's why I ended up putting it 6 issues instead of 5. So
yeah, I mean, that's always better. You don't want to like. I think if you have stuff to say, you might as well say it, as opposed to regretting it like later on. So like the extra issue that's awesome. So talk to me about this new story arc. I kind of want to have like a little bit of a tandem question statement where. Sure. I want to start with that letters column. That letters column, your introduction to the new story arc, I found, very endearing, because I feel like I was in the same boat as you are growing up, where I didn't have cable growing up. So a lot of the stuff I watched and a lot of stuff that influenced my sense of humor and sensibilities was just stuff from like the 40s and 50s, and, talk to me a little bit about that and how that kind of plays into, you mentioned like these TV shows that weren't very well made, but still grabbed your attention also, and I like the introduction of the private detective in this too. So let's kind of go into that whole thing, Yeah.
I mean, I was raised with, Red Skelton comedy bits. We had the Ed Sullivan on tape. So we had the old Ed Sullivan show with like the Beatles and like Creedence Clearwater Revival and all that. So that was like the later stuff. But like, I mean, I don't even know why, but I mean, my parents were older when I was born. My dad was 53 when I was born. My dad is 82 currently.
Sure. Yeah. Totally get it.
My mom. And I don't want to say that we grew up poor, but we didn't grow up rich. And I mean, I didn't have a bad childhood. I got pretty much everything I wanted, aside from that motorized Jeep that I always wanted. Put it on the Christmas list every year.
Listen,
never got it.
I never got one of those either. So we're in the same boat. Like I always wanted one of those too, but I did get a 18 big wheel, which was pretty sweet.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know. I think that essentially my parents gave me the childhood that I would have had if I'd grown up in the 70s, because that's when they were really in their childbearing years, really. I mean, if you look at like all their contemporaries when they had children, they were about their age in the 70s. And then my parents waited until, my mom was in her late 40s and my dad was in his 50s. And so I was sort of introduced to the things that they grew up with, which was, Howdy Doody.
Yeah, for sure.
And Ma and Pa Kettle and all these, classic things. But I mean, also part of that was, being, my mom didn't allow us to watch like R-rated movies when I was a kid.
Okay.
And I kind of like that because it added a mystique to them that they may not have otherwise had for me. And I definitely like. She told us the stories of them though, which was kind of fun. So she would tell us about like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and like she would tell us it was like the most horrifying thing she ever saw. And like that, I don't even think she told us the story of that one, but like that right there was enough to like hook me, and I was just like,
gotta see this.
Yeah, and then so that kind of fed into this whole thing with, you know, the classic TV movies, and you know how I would seek those out, and you know, I always was seeking out the older stuff because I had always been introduced to it, and so you know, watching, you know, Kolchak the Night Stalker and all that, which is a big influence on.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that with the PI because I straight Kolchak vibes.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, if I write him with, you know, Darren McGavin's voice in my head. But he's he started off basically as like just Kolchak, and then Jacob has definitely put his spin on the look.
For sure.
And which I love. And also, I mean, I made him a PI instead of a journalist, and you know, and I don't think that he's exactly Kolchak, which is obviously good because that would be copyright infringement. But yeah, it was definitely an influence on the story and the tone and on that character as well. And so yeah, I mean, it definitely, all this sort of stuff kind of was just in a big pot boiling, and that's kind of how I came up with the story arc. It was just all this. I wanted to play with that, you know, and to go back in the Joe Bob's past, and which I'd always wanted to do. I'd always had the idea. I mean, in issue 1, we have that newspaper clipping on the wall.
That's such a good though, you know, like having the newspaper clippings, and also like the Kolchak thing is not on the nose at all, you know, but like I picked up on that because, like I said, I feel like that's something we had in common, where it's like, oh, I grew up with this stuff, so I know who this is. Now let me ask you, when you were a kid, did you guys pick up those like 3 for $1 VHSs of like old stuff? Like my like the house I grew up in, and my grandmother's house also, it was like every Sunday we'd go out, and then my mom would invariably get like cassettes of like Laugh-In and just Three Stooges and like older stuff like that, you know. So like I feel like I definitely see where you're coming from with this stuff, and I think it's like it's extremely well written because you're not imagining something that you don't have experience watching, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an interesting thing to work on, because it's I also feel like it's just that what you were just talking about is also, it was like a very 90s thing, right? Because it was like a very late 80s 90s thing, where it was like VHS was this thing, and so it was sort of the birth of this you know, I guess you could sit home and just watch whatever. And yeah, I guess that's sort of it's a distillation of my childhood is this arc, and you know, and to roll that into our, you know, hard-boiled, you know, dark, pulpy story makes it interesting, because it's almost like, what if Cormac McCarthy wrote Kolchak, you know? And so it's like a kind of a fun thing to kind of think about. I mean, I don't go out and say that I'm going to write like Cormac McCarthy, because I can't write like Cormac McCarthy.
Right.
You know, he's Cormac McCarthy. But you know, it's sort of fun to funnel those things through. Obviously, my 30-year-old brain, and you know, all that. But it's just it's interesting. Yeah.
It seems like it.
I don't know if I answered your question, but
that's good enough. That's fine. That's it. Also, kind of like I like your statement. It also kind of feels like it hurts a little bit to be Cormac McCarthy. You know, like do you really want to put yourself in there and be the guy who wrote like Prime Meridian? You know, like,
Blood Meridian, but yeah,
Blood Meridian. Yeah, sorry, tough stuff. So. 8 should be out this week. I know my buddy at my LCS is having troubles with his distributor, so like I'm hoping to get a copy and chat about it for like the supplemental stuff on this. So are you gonna be at New York Comic Con this year? I think we chatted about this last time, but now the doors are open.
You know, I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. The thing is that I have a mundane, real life thing. I have a wedding like that weekend.
Your wedding or somebody else's wedding?
No. My cousins. But then like the week after that, I'm going to. It's like for a week. I'm supposed to be going to the UK. I don't know if that's gonna keep. That's actually gonna happen or not.
Yeah.
Still, they basically were like, we'll buy your ticket, and that was the reason why I had to say yes. Well, it's the UK,
right?
B, it was all expenses paid, so I was like, I kind of have to go, and I haven't met Jacob, in person, so it was like,
oh wow, okay,
I don't know, yeah. So I mean, there's a lot, going into it aside from just the fact that I was invited to a convention.
That's Thought Bubble, right?
It's no, it's the Lakes Arts Festival.
Okay.
And I mean, I've never left the U.S. This was one thing, I've never met Jacob. It was the first invitation to a comic convention.
That must have felt great.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, it felt really cool, and it was like an obvious yes, but obviously there's that, COVID thing in the back of your mind. It's just like, I hope it happens. And with this whole uptick of, cases, I don't know if it's going to happen, but fingers crossed. I'm still planning on it. But yeah, whether I'm going to New York Comic Con, I would hope so. I just haven't pulled the trigger and actually bought the ticket yet.
Yeah. I think it's very much it's a topic for debate, because I know as much as safe as they want to make it, I feel like it's still kind of like, I don't know, because everybody knows how rough and tumble it could be, I
mean, here's the thing, is like my cousin just flew out from California. He's a firefighter. He's very much like, I'm wearing my mask all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, not in and around us because we were all vaccinated, but when we went out, we would always wear masks, and I'm that way too.
Yeah.
And I mean, and my argument is real simple. It's just that I didn't get a cold or a flu last year at all, or this year either. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep doing it.
Yep.
Because I don't know. I like not being sick. So
Same here.
Yeah. So he came out and visited, and I even actually flew out to Texas when issue 7 came out.
Awesome.
And my friends there out in West Texas, I visited because I haven't been back there in a while, obviously, and this is where the comic is set, and I wanted to touch base again with the people and with the world. And obviously, I mean, we when we were around other people, we were outside, and when we were inside, it was just us and we were vaccinated, so I felt comfortable. But going on the plane, that was like iffy, just because I mean, you would assume there'd be like spaces between seats, but no, they just packed everybody in like normal. Everybody just had to wear their mask. But I was like, on the way out there, I was sitting next to a guy who was just coughing the entire time, and I'm like, this is not what you want to happen.
It did, like you kind of get like, it's a very heightened sense of like alarm, I guess, like even it's weird, like we're living in a weird time right now, even like weirder than last year, I think. Anyway, so when you're writing that Texas Blood, or when you're writing in general, again, let's go back to issue 7. So are you listening to anything while you're writing at all? Like, do you have any musical influences with your work at all?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that I have musical influences so much. I came up with the playlist pretty early on. Okay. And I wouldn't listen to it so much as I wrote, but as like I would just drive around town, and especially, obviously COVID, it became sort of more of a habit to just drive around. So it helped me get out of my house.
Yeah.
And I would listen to the playlists, because I'm curating it and trying to like pare it down and make it good. And I hope people like this one. I felt like it was a nice balance of like country and 80s. I don't know if you listen to it, but so I listened to that, and some of the songs on there, especially, sometimes I'll just listen to a song over and over again. But honestly, while I write, I have a pretty good record collection, and I listen to a lot of Talking Heads, and I listen to, oddly enough, a lot of AC/DC. Like they're like a weird pump me up kind of music that I enjoy while I'm writing.
There's nothing wrong with AC/DC at all.
No, I feel like I tweeted about them maybe like last year when I got Highway to Hell on vinyl, and I just watched this, like it seemed like every tweet that I had that day was like massively popular, and then I tweeted about AC/DC and it was like nobody talked, and I was like, what's wrong with AC/DC? And I kind of feel like they have that sort of roller coaster effect a little bit, especially now. I don't like so much post Bon Scott stuff. I like the early stuff mostly. I just feel like they got a little bit too much like arena rock for me. I like I would love to have a time machine so I can go back in time and just go see AC/DC at a bar in Australia. You know, like that would be
a wild time.
That would be great. Like that's the AC/DC, like this bluesy rock and roll, just like guys who were just playing rock and roll because they love rock and roll. You know, that's what I like about them, and they're very like honest. You know, they're not the best musicians, but they just love what they do, and I feel like that is why I like them. So yeah, I mean, I listen to that, and then just a lot of country music. I listen to a lot of country music. Townes Van Sant. A lot of Townes Van Sant, a lot of John Prine, Terry Allen, a lot of Terry Allen. I actually proved my Texas bona fides when I was in Texas. Guy asked me, "What's that one Terry Allen tune?" Because somebody mentioned Joe Bob. The character's name is Joe Bob. They introduced me. Oh, this guy writes a comic called That Texas Blood, and this guy goes, "What's that Terry Allen tune?" And I was like, "The Great Joe Bob is the name of the song."
That's awesome.
And so I was able to prove my Texas bona fides by naming a Terry Allen tune. But yeah, no, that stuff kind of it helps me get in the mood of writing the town and the county and the people, because you're getting the twang in your ears while you're writing.
Yeah, it's putting you in the location. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go see?
So that's definitely an influence, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you?
What were you gonna say?
Are you gonna go see David Byrne?
So funny story. My girlfriend actually, like in the height of COVID, when they came back on sale, she got me tickets to the first day back for my birthday. So in January, she got me those. So we're going to go see David Byrne again, hypothetically, fingers crossed. I don't know how they're gonna do that. I guess maybe they will do like vaccine cards or something to prove that you're vaccinated. But either way, I'm excited to go see David Byrne.
Yeah, I'm not 100%. Are you doing the New York date?
Yeah.
That's December 1st, I think. My cousin picked up tickets with the intention of taking my wife, not stealing my wife, but because my wife's a huge David Byrne fan. And he the other day he was like, dude, like they emailed me saying that the show is December 1st, which happens to be his birthday and also our anniversary.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so like that's kind of cool.
Yeah, the tickets I think that we have is in September. Okay. But they may have pushed it back to December. I don't know. But
yeah, whatever. Check it out, man. That's
I'm
funny.
Just happy to go.
yeah, that's what I hear. I mean, like a lot of this, like my wife's and I taste differ a little bit. So like a lot of stuff that she'll be like, "Oh, I'll go to that." I'm like, like she went to see the Who a couple of years ago, and I'm like, Who doesn't do it for me?
That's weird because I'm not a big Who fan either. Like I can appreciate them, but I don't own any Who albums. I rarely listen to them. Never got into them when I was younger, and I don't know. Just they and I never really got into Pink Floyd either.
Same here. There's like a bunch of stuff where I'm like, like Aerosmith. I never much cared for Aerosmith.
Yeah.
There's just stuff
fine. That's the same thing with me. I mean, when I was a kid, like I was super in, and like I still think they're fun, but like they're not good. And it's Kiss. I was very into Kiss.
Yeah, Kiss. Go ahead.
Kiss sucks. No, no. I mean, I think it was just the makeup and everything. And obviously just rock and roll. When you're a kid, you don't care.
No,
you don't care about the artistry of it.
No, not at all.
The craft of it. You like it because it's like singing about like forbidden things, and you're like, "Ooh, rock and roll, all right."
They're like movie monsters. I think that was like the big appeal. But listen, Strutter's a great
and they
song.
had a Marvel comic.
Yeah, for sure. They had like a bunch of stuff. They had like I think they had the oversized Marvel books too. But like Strutter's a great song. I'm not defending Kiss in any way, but I like a few of their songs. My wife and I get into an argument about Kiss and the New York Dolls because of just how much they kind of stole from the New York Dolls, you know? And my argument is always like,
and the Stones.
But my argument is like
the Kinks.
Yes.
Gene
absolutely.
Simmons stole his voice from Dave Davies.
Yes, absolutely. They stole from everybody. But my argument is also like, well, New York Dolls never wrote Strutter, which is a pretty excellent song, you know, as dumb as Kiss is, you know. I feel like I've been asking people about Kiss lately too, so it's funny you brought it up.
There's a really funny. I don't like Gene Simmons. I want to get that out there. I don't like Gene Simmons.
I don't think he likes Gene Simmons.
But yeah, I don't know. He's kind of entertaining to watch though, in like this weird like car crash way.
Yeah.
But there's a very funny. I don't mean to use up our whole 30 minutes talking.
Dude, this is great.
We can go over. I'm fine going over.
Yeah.
But there's a story of him. Somebody asked him about what is the song Deuce about, and he just looks at them and goes, "I have no idea."
Yeah.
And like that is like the perfect encapsulation of Gene Simmons, is that he doesn't have any idea what the song that he wrote. It's like one of the most popular songs that he wrote is about. But Peter Criss, the drummer from Kiss, I actually met him at a convention.
Okay.
And he had just survived breast cancer, which is,
oh my God.
You know, it's a thing that men are afflicted with as well, but it's just not talked about. And I said, you know, I just wanted to say congrats on, you know, kicking cancer's ass. And I told him my mom was a cancer survivor, and he just immediately got up, went around the table, and just gave me a big hug. And he's like, "Send that to your mom." And I was like, this is like the best dude ever, you know? And that's like what conventions are great for too, you know? But he like Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley suck because they're always shitting. I like always get like in the Twitter feed, I'll like see something about them like talking shit about Ace Frehley and Peter Criss. I'm like, these guys can go, you know, jump off a bridge. Not really. But I just like I'm not a fan of, you know, throwing down the people that got you where you are, you know?
No, well, that we watched the AMC, I think it was AMC or A&E, that they did like a 2-part Kiss documentary, and most of that documentary is Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons taking a huge dump on Ace Frehley and Peter Criss, which is whatever. It was a very entertaining documentary. Again, like Kiss is like a weird, like you said, Kiss is like a weird car wreck. I personally like, I'm cool with them, but they're not that great, you know. They're not the be all end all of rock and roll, you know?
No, I would say that they are not good. They're not good. But I enjoy listening to them from time to time. Like, it's fun. It's like a fun nostalgia thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I will hands down. I usually will not say this about like art and things like that. Like it's not good, but I will say that Kiss is not good.
Okay.
Most of the time, you know. There's like a few things that I would say like arguably that like they sort of surpass, and that's mostly with Peter Criss and Ace Frehley. Like New York Groove, good pop song.
Yeah.
And guess what? That's on the Ace Frehley solo album. So there you go. No Gene Simmons input on that.
There you go. Yeah.
Aside from maybe playing his instrument. But yeah. Anyway,
Destroyers. If you're into vinyl, Destroyer is a good vinyl though. That is a good vinyl to have.
I don't have it. I'll have to look into it.
You can get it for like $10 somewhere, or cheaper than that probably. But it's a good vinyl because the cover is so iconic, and there's tons of that album has all the good Kiss songs on it for the most part. You know, so and that's a fun one to have. Again, not defending Kiss, but in a weird way, I might be just a little bit, just like a weird.
I feel like we're simultaneously like shitting on them and also like putting them on a pedestal. So that sounds pretty cool.
Are you collecting anything now?
Comics or
anything? More, let's skew more towards comics everything. And
I come from that mindset of just like collecting everything. You know, I collect they have, I don't know why I have been getting these, but NECA has these King Kong action figures that they've been doing, and I have every single one, even though they're all exactly the same. They just all come with different like accompaniments. One of them comes with like a club, and one of them comes with like the chains. I literally got every single one of them. Like, I don't know why. So they have like minor differences in like paint and stuff like that. But I collect those. I have tons of Blu-rays. I've eaten tons of books, just everywhere. I have a lot of like old. I like paperbacks, the old like 50s, 60s sci-fi paperbacks, especially. Also pulp stuff, like detective stuff. So, and I mean, obviously comics. It all kind of stems from that same like comics mindset of like, I gotta, I'm gonna go dig through the dollar bins or whatever and like find gold. It kind of stemmed from there, probably. I don't know where it started, but it was, that. And yeah, I don't know. I do just collect a ton of crap. A lot of it's like good crap though, but it's just a lot of crap. My girlfriend gets a little antsy about it, but I love it. It's great stuff. I mean, I have a lot of movie posters and stuff too. And that's my main problem, is that I spend my money on stuff like that. It's good stuff, but it's just like, it can get pricey.
No, I hear you.
I haven't spent like an exorbitant amount, but yeah, lots of stuff.
No, it's a good problem, I think. Do you guys live together?
We don't yet. We are going to be moving in together soon.
Yeah, that's the only
September,
time.
So soon.
Oh, congrats. That's the only time I think when it gets like, you need to curb it a little bit. I got like we've lived together for like over 10 years, and like I think if I wasn't with my wife and just lived by myself, I would be covered and surrounded by just boxes and boxes of stuff, like,
yeah.
And the exorbitant amount of stuff. Like I remember I have a friend too who's like a huge collector, and his girlfriend moved in with him, and then like 2 weeks later she was like, I gotta move out. Like it's just Funkos and statues that are unopened and like all this stuff. But I think that's like, that comes with the territory, like if you grew up a comic fan for some reason, and it's not, I don't consider it like, what's the word, I don't consider it like a spoiled thing. It's just like this mindset of like, oh, I'm really into this. I kind of want to get that like poster, and like, like I love Boris Karloff flicks. I'm going to get like this German Frankenstein poster, which was like stuff that I would get, like back in the day or whatever. But now it's like, I agree with you. It's kind of like, you got to curate yourself because there's so much stuff out there.
I've definitely gotten better at it. By the way, you mentioned Boris Karloff. I'm looking at the Frankenstein figure I have over here too, which a friend actually sent me.
Oh, right on.
St. Louis, but not St. Louis. Why did I say St. Louis? Kansas City. Anyway, yeah, I definitely cut things down. I still collect an awful lot of comic books. I go mostly every week if I can. I've tried to cut it down even from there though, and I go like every other week now, just because I'm like, if I don't see it every week, chances probably won't buy everything I see that I want. But yeah, I mean, there's just something in our brains that clicked very early on, that and I'm this way with, even when I would go to Target, like I always walk down the toy aisle even if I don't buy anything. Which is really funny in recent days, because you'll always just see like some guy like walking out with like 15 packages of like something. Apparently my roommate, my best friend since I was like 5, he collects wrestling action figures, and he takes photos of them on Instagram. And he said that apparently the new thing is that somebody has been stealing the heads off of the LeBron James toys for Space Jam.
Oh wow.
And they're selling them for like exorbitant amounts of money on eBay, and I'm like, who's buying them?
Yeah,
because he's real. Like, if there's actually money in it, like that's wrong, first of all, because this is just like who would be buying these toys except for a kid? Like, come on,
Yeah.
And that's like partially like why I'm like kind of against that whole thing. Like that stuff is wrong to me. Like the reselling thing where they just go into like a Target and buy all the toys. Like if like I went to the store and I saw like the Mandalorian stuff. Yeah. And I bought like a bunch of it because I was like, I like these, and I took them out of package, like they're on a shelf. So like, I'm definitely of that mind where, if I see something and I want it, like I'll get it, but I'm not a fan of I remember when they like right before Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out, which is a stinker of a movie, and I defended it for far too long. And then I rewatched it again, and I was like, "Wow, that really is not good." Excited for the fifth one. Maybe they can, right the ship. But they came out with a bunch of figures, 3/4 inch, like the Star Wars toys. And I literally went to the Toys R Us like as they opened, and there was another guy there, and like a man who was like probably like 45, 50 years old, just literally buying all of them and like trying to take them out of my hands. And I'm like, dude, I'm like, God. I don't know, like 15 or something. Like I was even a little old to be buying all of these, but I was like, come on, let me go. let me have my fun.
It gets, I feel like that F's it up for like collector, not like different kinds of collectors. Like my brother's a good example. My brother's 52. He collects a lot of stuff, but like he takes everything out of the package, sets it up and all that. And like for the life of him, I don't know how many angry texts he sent me about not being able to find those new G.I. Joe figures, those get scooped up like nobody's business at like Target, Walmart, what have you,
Yeah. No, yeah, that stuff, the secondary market is ruining a lot of the collecting for me. I mean, and my roommate is also dealing with that problem, because even he was trying to get the new Sergeant Slaughter toy, right? And so he was like ready, like as soon as it launched online, he was there to pre-order it, and it was gone in like seconds.
Yeah, dude.
And it's just because people have bots that they make, so that they can just order, however many they can. I don't know. It's weird. I was into like the Mondo stuff for a minute. I've sort of graduated from that to actually just owning original one sheets because I decided that those were more my taste anyway. But I mean, I used to really be into the Mondo stuff, and I almost feel like the hunt was as much of the joy of it as actually owning them. They're great pieces of art. Don't get me wrong. But the hunt was like a big part of it. Because like the first one that I tried to get was the Laurent Duro Jaws poster, which is fantastic.
Very cool.
And I didn't get that one, but I got the ET one. But I had both of them in my cart, And so I got this Mike Mitchell ET one, and I was like, but I wish I could have gotten that Jaws one. And the Jaws one goes for like $4,000 now on eBay.
Oh wow.
So and it kind of saps a little bit of the fun out of it, I think. I mean, it definitely makes the things like very like valuable, obviously, but it sort of saps the fun out of it, I feel like.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I feel the same way about that. Like sometimes like I'll give in and I'll find somebody who's kind of willing to work with you on price, depending on like what figure I want, like if it's like a weird Marvel Legend or whatever. But I'm also of the mindset.
Is that what you collect?
Every so often, like right now, I try to curate my stuff, but like I've been really into the Storm Collectibles figures, and those figures are beautiful, but the thing with them is like this is a weird thing. Like the Mortal Kombat figures that they put out will double and triple in price within 6 months, so it's like, shit, should I take this out of the box? Should I gotten 2 of them? But they're like gorgeous, fully posable, like amazing figures. They have like midsection rib joints also, so you can do like really nutty poses with them. But that's pretty much it. And then like besides like Silver Age Fantastic Fours or like Silver Age Thors, like I try to limit it. Maybe a Mezco, Star Wars Legos, which in the last couple of years has been like huge. Between
I don't know if you can see it. It's the Apollo 11.
Oh, dude, that's
Saturn
awesome.
V rocket. So I mean, I don't get Legos as much anymore, but every once in a while I get myself one and splurge.
Yeah.
Man, they're fun. They're fun to put together. So
they're so much fun, man. Like I got a Millennium Falcon like waiting to be put together. It's like you got to find the time. But yeah, like it's interesting too. Like the collector's market is fascinating because it's not only like 15-year-olds, working their first job and like saving money or whatever. It's like at this point, it's like people well into like their 50s and 60s because they grew up with, I want to say I'm going to blame Star Wars, but they grew up with like the original collectibles, you know, like Star Wars, $6 Million Man, Mego figures, and all that stuff is coming back now. So it's kind of creating like this frenzy, this all ages frenzy, you know?
It definitely is making this frenzy. I literally just, like I said, I'll be going down like the Target aisle and like I'll grab one of those. I like those little like simple basic Marvel figures that they've been putting out. They're like not posable at all. They just move their arms up and down and they're
the
like
classic Marvel
forearm swivel. I've been getting those whenever I see them. Like I got a Daredevil. I'm a big Hulk. For some reason there's like random characters that I just collect like every single thing of them, and the Hulk is one of them. King Kong is one of them. I like big hulking things that just destroy things, I guess, really what it comes down to.
There's a pattern there.
I have an anger problem. I got Hulk and I got a few other things, but it's like they just disappear so quickly because I'm like, are people just buying them up and just selling them? Like, I don't know, like it's so strange to me. And like the wrestling stuff is like the fact that my roommate collects this stuff like more than I do is really what's opened my eyes to it even more. Just like the resellability, if that's a word, the resale value of these things is like crazy. It's astronomical, and this whole Sergeant Slaughter thing is like a perfect example. Like I even like, cause he like texted me and my other roommate, we have like a group chat as you do. And he texted us and was like, missed out on Slaughter. And I looked it up on eBay and it was already going for like over $100.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And I'm like, so you literally bought this thing that somebody wants to enjoy just so you can try to get a few more shekels out of them. And I'm like, like, come on, man. Let them have let them have the joy. Like I was at not to keep going off on these tangents.
No, it's fine.
You had me on here to talk about issue 7 and we're talking about collecting. But I went with a roommate, a friend of mine. He's a big comic collector as well.
Yeah.
He found somebody on Facebook who used to own a comic shop on Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, do you want to come with me and, take a look at what they got? Their garage is just filled with comics. And I was like, yeah, I want to go. So we went to this person's house and they're disabled and they really can't run their comic book shop anymore. So they were just really happy to get rid of it. And like, this is even from a friend of mine. So like, he was like, I found a signed copy of a Mignola Hulk cover.
Oh, wow. Signed
by Mignola. And he was like, and I was like, here, take it. Like, it's like you're gonna enjoy it more than me. I have a Mignola signature in my collection. Like, I don't need another one. Take it. Like, so for me, it's like I want people to enjoy the stuff as much as I want to own it. I mean, I was a little cousin of mine is into like Ninja Turtles toys, and I was gonna sell all my old ones for cash because they're worth a little bit of money, a couple of them at least. And but he was into them, so I was like, let me throw them in a bag and bring them over. So, I mean, that to me is like, it's like, it's like this battle, like this internal battle of like, do I, try to profit off of this, or do I just, give it to somebody who's actually going to enjoy it? And I feel like 9 times out of 10, I'm going to say give it to somebody who's going to enjoy it, like personally. Just because I know that that's it's something that I would appreciate if somebody did for me,
right?
And B, it's just like they are going to enjoy it, So yeah, that's
sensible. I think it's also I think that's also the plight of the modern comic book nerd. Yeah. Like what do I do with this stuff? Sometimes you just gotta let it go. Like when we got married, I had you remember those Bowen statues? Like those 12-inch, like, dude, I had so many in my apartment, and at one point I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna sell 95% of these, and it helped pay for so much of the wedding that it was like, all right, cool, like it did. Somebody's getting joy out of this. Like I ended up selling like a bunch of stuff to like people overseas, that couldn't get access to like certain couple of the exclusives I had. So that kind of made me feel good. I had like these figures that were just sitting on the shelf collecting dust. Like I remember I had an Abominable Dr. Phibes figure that I got in
Was it like a Mego style thing, or?
Yeah, it was. I forgot the name of the company. I think it was called like Majestic Toys or something like that. But it was a low run Mego style 12-inch Dr. Phibes figure. We got it in San Diego. I paid maybe like $40 for it. You know, like I'm a huge Vincent Price fan, and it was just sitting on the shelf. I never took it out of the box. I put it on eBay. Some dude in Germany was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna give you $600 for this if you could ship it to me right now." Like I've been looking for this figure for like years and years. I was like, "Dude, you got it, no problem." Sent me like a nice thank you letter, and like he sent me a picture. He opened it up. He paid $600 for it, opened it up, sent me a picture of it. I was like, "Dude, that's awesome." So like that kind of thing is like,
yeah,
we both won. You know, where I got to sell him this thing. I got to help pay for my wedding. He got joy out of not seeing this thing.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said about that in the comic book community, you know?
Well, I think that's part of the community. Yeah. And I feel like there are those sharks though out there, you know, there are sharks that are just, you know, flooding the waters.
Yeah. Who are just, give me the money. I don't care. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's also like that double-edged sort of like, again, it's like the hunt is part of the fun, right?
Oh, yeah,
so if you don't
100%.
get it, like it's fine, but you know, you'd like it. But yeah, I don't know. Collecting is it's a weird thing. It is just a hobby in its own right. Just collecting.
Oh,
just
yeah.
collecting.
Just collecting.
But
I think there's also a psychosis with it too. You know, there's like a slight.
Yeah, could go too far.
I think sometimes it goes too
Absolutely.
far. You know, where it's like I know people who need to like scoop like every single thing up plus every variant plus, and you like I see it in the comic store every week. I'm sure you do too. Like that guy who has to buy like 2 of every variant. You know?
Yeah,
like,
I see people with piles like this big.
Yeah, and it's like in my head, I'm like, yeah, exactly. In my head, I'm like, those are not going to be worth anything. Like, there's a rarely you're going to find something that's worth something. You know? And it's like,
I honestly just wonder why things wind up being worth the amount of, like, there was the Something is Killing the Children.
Yeah.
Was going for like a ton of money. I'm like, why is that going for so much money, but so much other stuff is not? Like, I just don't understand like how it became so valuable. Personally, not that I'm not knocking that series at all. I'm just wondering, like, you know, why is that? And same thing with that Stray Dog series. Like, apparently those variants are going for so much money. Like, why is that going for so much money, but other things are not?
I don't have an answer, but I definitely talk about this. I think it's with like friends and like people who work at the store I go to. I think it's the pandemic screwed people up in a weird way where a lot of that stuff came out during lockdown. Not Stray Dogs, I think, was the beginning of the year, but Something's Killing Children was coming out during lockdown. And I think people were so hungry to get new books and hot books and that it exploded and it got optioned. And I think James Tynion just won the Eisner this week. So I think those prices are going to go even like higher, you know? And it was also a book that nobody paid attention to when it came out.
Yeah.
You know, even which one of the things that was mind blowing is like, do you do previews at all, or have you done previews?
Yeah.
So when that book came out, technically the first appearance of the character was in the previews insert, right? And at one point that insert was going for like $200, you know, from like a year and a half ago, maybe.
Did that come out when our book came out? Because I have the insert then.
if the insert has the character on the cover, like the order form.
That's funny.
That thing's going for like a good chunk of change. It's mind-boggling what's hot and what's not. You know, it's also like I was talking about, my wife also she reads comics, but like not the big two stuff, you know, like a lot of indie books. But it's like, me as a fan, I enjoyed Stray Dogs. You know, I'm not gonna poo-poo the book. You know, it's a fun book. Would I sell my copies? Sure. Does that mean I don't like them any less? No. It means that you like what you like, you know, like, am I going to sell my Kirby FFs? Absolutely not. You know, so it's kind of like that. I'm sure there's some kind of psychological analysis on comic fans somewhere that I would love to read, you know?
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I mean, I even a lot of times, like, we have like one of those little community lending library things in a park here right next to my house. I mean, a lot of times I'll read like an issue, and would imagine it's not going to be worth a lot of money. So I'll just like, and if it's like kid friendly, like I'll put it in that.
Yeah.
Just like, because then I'm like, it's not taking up space in my box, and I'm not going to like be going through the hassle of trying to resell it.
Right.
Or just bring it back to my comic shop and being like, here, and he'll be like, oh, I can't give you any money for that though, and I'm like, all right,
just
like,
give it away.
I mean, I just have I have like, just in here I have like 3 long boxes, and and I got like tons of other long boxes, so I have way too much stuff, and like I do have a connection to an awful lot of it, especially Kirby, Ditko, all that great classic stuff. Like that's the stuff I think that I'll probably hold on to, especially.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It is a weird thing for me that it's like, I know that I don't want to keep this stuff forever, but I also want to have it in hard copy.
Yes, for sure.
So that's another thing. That's an interesting psychological, thing to explore.
It really is.
Why I need to buy the thing if I don't intend to keep it.
That's 100%. There's I don't know if there's a little psychosis there. There might be. Sometimes when I come home from the comic store and I have like a giant stack, I'm like, what am I doing with some of these books? But then I don't know, and like I'm in the same boat where it's like, a lot of the stuff, I have so many long boxes that I'm organizing, and a lot of the stuff I just want to sell or give away or whatever once it's organized. And then I'm like, you know what? Like I could probably get these on Comixology for free at some point, just throw them on my iPad and I'll have them. Like this is the next evolution of those books I'm getting rid of. They'll still be there, as long as you have memory on like whatever device or whatever you have, they'll be there. Like I know a couple of, like one of my buddies, he's just straight digital at this point. He's like, I don't got the room. I don't care. I don't care about reselling them. I don't care about bagging and boarding. I just want the digital book and that's it, and I'm like, that's cool. There's a good argument for that too. If you're saving space.
Yeah, I mean, and like a big part of the reason why I still buy physical copies is because this could be the case if I did Comixology, but like I like to support the artists and writers, and I just, that's a big part of why I buy so much, is to support creators. Another reason is that I just like to look at the art. And the layouts, and like it's different digitally, especially if you use one of you're using the reader, and it's like big blown up panel, and then it's like a close up on the thing, and then you swipe it, and then it's the next panel, but it's again, then it's like another close up. So it kind of like it changes the panel layouts a little bit. So yeah, I don't know. I was also just listening to NPR yesterday, and they had a guy on who wrote an article about Spotify. And he was talking about basically how you don't own anything on Spotify.
Right.
And like if you have a large Spotify collection of things, what happens to it when Spotify dies?
Right. Like you're massive.
Because you're basically just renting this stuff from Spotify. You don't own any of it.
Yeah.
And so that argument could be had with Comixology. Although they are, for their originals, they are doing physical copies as well. That Scott Snyder announced me yesterday. It was pretty huge. I'm also a big Scott Snyder fan, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. But I think, like I'm also like, I need that tactile sensation too. Like I need to bring my books home, bag and board them, lay in bed at night and read them.
I'm a book guy. I like books. I like to read. I like to touch them. I like the smell of them.
Oh, absolutely.
Joe Hill, if anybody.
Oh, right on, dude.
Fan out there.
Yeah. What book is that? I mean,
that's 20th Century Ghosts.
Okay. I don't think I
mentioned I was writing a short story, so I've been reading more short stories here and there.
That's awesome. I think I got the Frankenstein right up here. I think I have like 10 copies of Frankenstein.
Oh yeah.
Nice. From different covers. Like it's one of those things.
I do the same thing. I do the same exact thing. I have multiple copies of Frankenstein. I have multiple copies of Dracula.
Yeah.
I have multiple copies of I Am Legend.
Dude. That's top 3 favorite books for me.
Yeah.
Love Iron.
Well, Matheson is a big influence on me. So
really?
Yeah. Well, if you remember, the name of the hotel in Fort LaHaine is the Hotel Belasco, which is the name of the house in Hell House.
Awesome.
So it's a straight reference from Hell House, which is one of my favorite books.
Very cool.
That is a scary book. If you want to read a good, scary haunted house book, read Hell House. I recommend it.
I got it behind me somewhere. I read it once a very long time ago. I Am Legend. I must have read it at least like 15 times at this point.
Yeah.
You know, like it used to be like a once a year kind of thing. You know,
I wish I had the time to do that again, to read something more than once, over and over again. I always loved like the stories of Christopher Lee reading Lord of the Rings just every year.
Oh boy.
I wish I had that, in me to read Lord of the Rings more than once every year. It's just I get like halfway through Fellowship and then I'll stop.
Yeah,
like and I've read it before, so I mean I'm like I read it before, like I'm good, but I'll read sections of it.
They're big tomes, and it's also like I think the thing with Fellowship too, it's like it takes them 90 pages to get out of the Shire, and it's like in the movie I think it's like 9
and also
9
many
minutes.
years.
It takes
many years.
It takes everybody's
like 20
going back
years
and forth.
or something.
Yeah, and like the movies wrap it up in like 10 minutes, like they're on the adventure immediately. But the book, like I love those books, but they're huge. Like I'm a big Philip K. Dick fan, and like
same.
The only books I've read multiple times were Man of the High Castle and Flow My Tears, A Policeman Said. Oh, dude. Ubik's awesome. Scanner Darkly's great. Ubik, I love you. Scanner Darkly.
These
I
are
loved
book
it.
Editions, but
those are awesome, man. That Ubik cover is awesome.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Flow My Tears I've read a couple of times, and Man of the High Castle I've read a couple of times. But the other stuff, I'm like, I don't think I'll ever get around to reading the Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch like again.
You mean you don't want to read Valis 5 times?
You know what? I do love Valis, but I don't think it'll be 10 years before I read that book again.
That one's a hard one to get through, though. But yeah, I do love Ubik. I think that's a fantastic approach to a haunted house story. Yeah, if anybody hasn't read Philip K. Dick, they should read Philip K. Dick.
They definitely need to. Yeah, dude. What are some of your PKD favorites?
I would put Ubik up there. Scanner Darkly was a big one for me because I was newly introduced into Los Angeles and feeling distant and a stranger, and it was a story about a guy who wears somebody else's face on his own. Okay. In Los Angeles. So it was like the perfect thing to read at the time. So it was like very personal. I don't know. I'm not too huge on Do Androids Dream. I like it fine. I like Blade Runner better, which is one of those weird things where it's like the movie's better than the book, in my opinion. I like the book though. Yeah.
Total Recall. Total Recall is better than We'll Remember It For You,
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Have you read Martian Time Slip?
Which one was
that
Martian?
Pretty fun.
I think I did. I banged a few out last year where I'm like they're kind of merging,
There's like a psychic kid who is autistic who can either see the future or something, and they use him to take advantage of a land grab. I believe is what it is. If I remember correctly. I have to reread it myself. It's been too long, and I'm sure I'm butchering the actual story. Yeah. But
I haven't read that. I get that confused. There's the game players at Titan. There's a bunch of other. I just finished Radio Free Albemuth. I'm trying to get through all 55 of his novels. But it's like like you said, I suggest anybody who's watching this pick up any Philip K. Dick book and start reading it because they're pretty fantastic and very melancholy too.
Yeah. And he's definitely a troubled human being. So if you're interested in his books, I also recommend reading a biography on him as well.
Oh, for sure.
Very interesting human being, especially the last half of his life where he had a religious experience while at the dentist. Yeah. Very funny, but also very intriguing. Are you a Stephen King fan? Because I've mentioned Stephen King an awful lot, and
I am a Stephen King fan. I will be honest with you, and you're gonna hate me. I have never gotten fully through one of the closest I come to finishing a book was Needful Things.
Okay, well that's a long one to try to get.
Yeah, it's a lot. But like, give me your recommendations.
He writes long books. I mean, I would say Salem's Lot. I like The
Okay.
Shining a lot. Those two are pretty slim as well.
Mm.
I would recommend those. My introduction to Stephen King was actually in a short story collection called Skeleton Crew.
Okay.
And that one is it's like a smorgasbord of just like sci-fi and horror and just suspense, and it's very good, and it's got The Mist in it as well.
Oh, cool.
Which is a great story, which is like a novella, I guess. But yeah, I'm working through Lisi's story right now because they have the Apple TV show, and I want to watch that because it sounds pretty good.
Oh, cool.
I'm like, well, I got to read the book first, so I'm like working through it. I'm almost finished, but yeah, I actually read. So they premiered I think this is where they showed it first. Where they debuted it was in this Michael Chabon collection, a Mammoth collection from McSweeney's. He did two of them, but anyway, they had this story called Lisi and the Madman, which is a short story by Stephen King, and I did not like it that much. I liked everything in it until he started doing his Stephen King thing, which, you know, we all love him for, but like at the same time, it's like this wasn't in the story that he wrote. You know, it's about this woman whose husband is shot. He's a writer. He's famous. He's shot at a ribbon cutting ceremony for a library. And it's this great suspenseful scene of what this wife is going through as her husband is dying in her arms. And then he goes, you know, something like, but the monsters that he used to talk about were real. And I'm like, Stephen, what are you doing? But I got to tell you, I'm, 400 pages into this 500-page novel. It works a hell of a lot better in the novel. I would say it's pretty great. Yeah. Like his short stories from way back when are great and concise, and I feel like he could still write a hell of a short story, but I feel like he sometimes he needs the space to fill out the ideas. So I feel like it definitely works much much better in novel form. So
he's one of those dudes where I love most Stephen King movies. I think because we ended up growing up with them, and like even the new stuff.
That's the thing. I feel like you can almost trade the books for the movies at a certain point because there's so many of them.
Yeah, and then also, he's such a personality, and it's weird too because like I have a hard time getting through a Stephen King book, but I will do all sorts of Stephen King research and get completely blown away by it. With like all that stuff with, I think, I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, since you're the fan here, where the entities in It and Dark Tower are kind of like the creators of that whole universe.
Yeah.
Right? Like, am I right about that?
Yeah, without getting too spoilery, but yes.
Right. Like,
that's one of the things that I absolutely love about it. Even in the newest novel that he came out with called Later, there's like an It connection in that.
Okay.
The ritual of Chud comes back.
Okay.
But there's certain things that I love about Stephen King that are also like me like rolling my eyes a little bit. It's almost at a certain point, like when you read enough of a person's work, they almost become like this shadow friend.
Okay.
Sure. And he's somebody who he always has people laugh at inappropriate times. Which is not a thing that human beings do. And he'll just like have them cackle. But like I'm trying to think of other things that he does, but I can't remember now off the top of my head. I'm sure as soon as we get off, I'll think of them. But yeah, that's one of the things that he does a lot. Is just has people laugh at inopportune times. You're just like, okay. I would also recommend reading It. It's a very long book, but it's a very good book. It's also, I like to say that it's got his best instincts and his worst instincts, because it's like, it's got some of his greatest stuff, and then it's also got some of the stuff that people might consider his failings, but it makes it like an even more rich experience for a reader, I would argue.
Did you like
no pun intended, Rich?
Sure. Did you like the Dark Tower Marvel adaptation?
I never read it.
Okay.
Never read it. Yeah. I probably should. I should get on it. If I want to be a completist, I should read it.
Yeah, that's definitely because the art that Jay Lee does the art, it's beautiful. It's like
I've seen it. I remember it coming out too, and I remember it looking fantastic. I don't know. It sort of was weird to me that it was. I don't know. It was almost like I wasn't sure if it was canon in my brain. When it was coming out. That it's like a weird thing where it's like once you branch out of book into comic or into movie or whatever, is it still considered canon? Is it still the same thing? Is it still connected? I don't know.
Yeah,
but that was at the time when it was coming out.
Because
I'm old enough to remember when it was coming out, I guess.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating how like there's so like Stephen King's a good example of like, he's apart from like superhero flicks, like his stuff is it's become the hot commodity again. In the last couple of years, you had like the It movies, you had the Dr. Sleep, sort of, right? Another Pet
that was
Sematary.
Really interesting. That was a really interesting movie because it's like, okay, did you ever see 2000? Are you a Stanley Kubrick fan?
100%, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so 2001 is obviously one of the great movies of all time. 2010, made by Peter Hyams.
Right.
Not one of the greatest movies of all time.
Right.
And it's a weird adaptation where it's like an adaptation of the book, 2010, and also taking elements from 2001, the book, but also having it be a sequel to the movie 2001. So it's like this weird thing that takes from both the book and the movie, which are very different.
Right.
Dr. Sleep is exactly the same way, where it's like 2010, where it's a sequel to the movie, but it also includes things from the book. So in a way, I feel like Stephen King, I think, said at the time when it came out that it was like it saved the movie for him.
Okay.
Which I don't know if that's true or not. And they're very different beasts. I love them both. I love both the book and the movie. I have no problem with watching the movie and saying, "Oh, this is The Shining," but this is Stanley Kubrick Shining versus Stephen King Shining. Like I don't have a problem saying that.
Yeah, I feel like that movie specifically. Like, I love The Shining. I think The Shining's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's like top 5, top 10. And I know Stephen King had a problem with it. And then they did the made-for-TV one, which I don't think he had too much of a problem with.
Well, no, he wrote it.
Yeah,
executive produced it. Yeah, no, he loved it.
Yeah, so like, and I want to say Tim Daly. Was it Tim Daly? No, it was the other guy from Wings. I forgot his name.
Steven Weber, I think.
Yes,
is his name.
Steven Weber was the main character in it. But
this is my special power.
You just know all Stephen King stuff.
Well, I also just like movies and I know stupid trivia from like dumb things.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Let's wrap this up in a couple of minutes.
All right. I don't even know what time it is.
It's 1:23. I've taken up so much of your time, Chris. I appreciate it.
No, you're good.
So last time I don't have a supplemental question to my sandwich question. Last time I asked you what the sandwich of your dreams was, and I'm thinking of something else, but like I'm gonna save it for another day. That Texas Blood issue 8 comes out this week. I hope you guys pick it up. What can we expect going forward with the series?
You should expect that we're going to continue to explore the county in different times and in different ways and with different characters, and we'll still continue to see Joe Bob throughout. And in this arc in particular, expect things to sort of trend towards the strange, I guess, is what I'll say.
Is this building up to, like you mentioned your short story before, is this building up to like some kind of manifestation of horror writing in the future from you?
Possibly. Okay. I don't want to throw out too much, but yeah, I mean, like I said, there's certain people who have read the pitch. I put the pitch up on our Patreon. If people want to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Condon Phillips. It's both me and Jacob. We share duties. I have a podcast on there myself. I'm actually working on editing a podcast I just recorded with Dan Waters, who wrote Homesick Pilots and Lucifer and tons of other great comic books. but yeah, we posted up the pitch on there, and I took it down and like edited out a couple like things that I was like, ooh, those could be like spoilers later on. But a couple people saw it, and so they know where it's going. Okay. But yeah, let's. I mean, I think that crime and horror go hand in hand anyway. I do believe that. I think 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Were you a fan of True Detective, at least the first season?
Yes. I actually like the third season a lot too.
Third season's awesome. Second season's kind of a dud for me.
Yes. We'll forget that one.
I know. I enjoyed I really loved Mahershala Ali in that third season, man. That was
he was fantastic.
Yeah. Where can everybody find you, Chris?
I am on Twitter and Instagram at Christoph Condon, CHRISTOPH, Christoph. You can also again find us on Patreon.
Awesome, dude. Thank you so much for coming on and bullshitting with me for over an hour. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be here.
Thanks, dude. Guys, I can't thank Chris enough for coming on again. The dude is awesome. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate the time you took out to talk to me. And I also appreciate the extra 30 minutes that we BS'd after the show about comics and all that good stuff. And if you guys like comics, you're probably watching this show. And I appreciate that too. Guys, hit that subscribe button. BTC Rich X here. You can find me at BTC Rich on Twitter. And that's pretty much it. Those are the only places that you can find me. And you can find me roaming the streets of Flushing, much like the nanny, as I mentioned before. Anyway, guys, here are my books of the week and an outfit change. Bam, outfit change. Guys, my book of the week is That Texas Blood #8. And not just because Chris was on, but because it was a fantastic book and I loved it. It was it always makes it to the top of my stack. This book picks up after issue #7. We're getting a murder mystery. We're getting satanic cults. We're getting some cool cop shit happening down south. We're getting a playlist as a supplemental. We're getting supplemental information about the characters, the county, all the extra stuff you want to know about the comic book. I highly suggest to read it cover to cover. It's such a fantastic book. Guys, go pick up the first trade, collecting issues 1 through 6. Issue #7 came out last month. Issue #8 came out this week. There's still time, guys. And this book looks like it's going to be going on for a while. So that's pretty cool. Chris has an open invite to be on the show anytime he wants. And again, I really appreciate it. Guys, you can subscribe to this channel at BTC Rich X. Please gently touch that subscribe button. You can find me on Twitter at BTC Rich. I'd love to hear your comments. Let's get this show going. The RSS feed should be up soon. We're going to be all over the audio platform soon, not just video. So I'm pretty excited about that. Again, my name is Rich, and I'll see you next week, baby.